Here's a number that'll mess with your brain. $100,000 is not 10% of the way to $1 million. I know. Basic math says it is. Pull out a calculator and divide $100,000 by $1 million and you get 10%. Simple, right? Wrong. Because wealth doesn't grow in a straight line. It grows on a curve. And once you understand that curve, you'll realize that reaching $100,000 actually puts you about 1/3 of the way to $1 million. Not in dollars, in time. And time is the only currency that actually matters when you're building wealth. Let me show you exactly what I mean. Let's say you invest $10,000 a year and earn an average 7% annual return. That's roughly what the S&P 500 has delivered historically after inflation. To go from $0 to $100,000, it takes you about 7.84 years. Almost 8 years of grinding, saving, sacrificing, and watching your balance crawl upward like a snail on concrete. But here's where the math gets wild. Going from $900,000 to $1 million takes only about 1.35 years. Your first $100,000 took nearly 8 years. Your last $100,000 takes less than a year and a half. Same amount of money, wildly different timelines. That's the power of compound interest doing its thing. So why does this happen? Why does the same $100,000 take 8 years at the start and barely a year at the end? It comes down to one concept: compound interest. In the early years, almost all of your growth comes from your own contributions. You put in $10,000, the market gives you maybe $700 in returns. That's it. You're doing all the heavy lifting. Your money is barely helping. But as your balance grows, something shifts. Your returns start earning their own returns. By year 10, your investment gains start to outpace your contributions. By year 15, the money you're earning from interest alone is larger than what you're putting in each year. By year 20, your money is working 2 to 3 times harder than you are. You're still contributing the same $10,000 a year, but your portfolio is now generating $20,000 or $30,000 or more in returns annually, on top of what you add. The snowball is rolling downhill, and it's getting bigger with every rotation. There's a quick shortcut that makes this even easier to see. It's called the Rule of 72. You take the number 72 and divide it by your annual rate of return. The result tells you roughly how many years it takes for your money to double. At a 7% return, 72 divided by 7 equals about 10.3 years. So, $100,000 becomes $200,000 in about 10 years. Then, $200,000 becomes $400,000 in another 10. And $400,000 becomes $800,000 in another 10 after that. Notice what's happening. Each doubling adds more raw dollars than the one before. The first doubling gave you an extra $100,000. The second gave you $200,000. The third gave you $400,000. Same time frame, same rate. But the outcome multiplies because the base keeps getting bigger. That's compound interest in its purest form, and it only works if you give it a large enough starting point and enough time to run. Let me lay out the milestones so you can actually see this acceleration. Investing $10,000 a year at a 7% return, it takes about 7.84 years to hit $100,000. Then about 5 years to go from $100,000 to $200,000. About 3.5 years from $200,000 to $300,000. Each $100,000 milestone arrives faster than the one before. By the time you cross $500,000, you're gaining $100,000 roughly every 2 years. And once you pass $800,000, that final stretch to $1 million takes about 1.5 years. The beginning is slow. The middle picks up speed. The end is a rocket ship. This is why so many people never build real wealth. They look at their balance after 3 or 4 years of saving and investing, and they see $30,000 or $40,000, and they think it's not working. They think investing is a scam or that the stock market is only for the rich. So they stop. They pull the money out, they buy something that depreciates, and they restart the clock at $0. Meanwhile, the person who stayed the course and pushed through that painful first phase is watching compound interest take the wheel. Here's another way to think about it. At $10,000 invested, a 10% return gives you $1,000. At $100,000, that same 10% gives you $10,000. At $500,000, it's $50,000. At $1 million, it's $100,000 a year. The percentage never changed, but the scale of what that percentage produces changes everything. Now here's what I need you to hear. According to the Employee Benefit Research Institute, about 58% of Americans have less than $10,000 saved for retirement. Only about 14% have $100,000 or more. That means if you can reach $100,000 in invested assets, you're already ahead of roughly 86% of the country. You're not average. You're in rare territory. And from that position, compound interest becomes your unfair advantage. So what do you actually do with this information? 4 things. First, start now. Even if it's $200 a month, the math favors the early starter over the big spender every single time. A 25-year-old investing $300 a month will likely outpace a 35-year-old investing $600 a month by retirement. That extra decade of compounding is worth more than doubling your contributions. Second, automate your investments. Set up automatic transfers into an index fund or a retirement account so you never have to rely on willpower. Willpower fades. Systems don't. The people who build wealth aren't more disciplined. They just built better systems. Third, protect your first $100,000 at all costs. Don't touch it. Don't borrow against it. Don't cash it out to buy something flashy. That $100,000 isn't just $100,000. It's the seed that grows into $1 million. Every dollar you pull out resets the compounding clock and costs you years on the back end. And fourth, guard against lifestyle creep. You get a raise, and suddenly you upgrade the car, the apartment, the wardrobe. Your income went up, but your savings rate stayed flat or even dropped. Lifestyle creep is the reason people earn $150,000 a year and still live paycheck to paycheck. Every time your income increases, increase your investment contribution first, before you increase your spending. If you get a $500 a month raise, send $300 of it straight into your portfolio and enjoy the other $200 guilt-free. That single habit is the difference between people who look rich and people who actually are rich. The truth is, becoming a millionaire isn't about earning a huge salary. It's not about picking the right stock or timing the market perfectly. It's about surviving the boring middle. It's about staying invested when your account barely moves. It's about trusting the math even when the math doesn't feel like it's working yet. Your first $100,000 is the hardest money you'll ever make, but it's also the most important money you'll ever make. Because once you get there, the game changes. The snowball is rolling. The curve is bending. And from that point forward, your money does more of the work than you do. So, if you're grinding right now and the progress feels painfully slow, good. That means you're in the hardest part. Keep going. The math is about to flip in your favor. If this video opened your eyes, hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.